NERDSoul.
So guys, I'm Evan Forster.
There's Chris.
Hi Chris.
Chris on love.
Everybody.
Hello.
I'm Evan, music producer and film producer and a technologist. We have a new technology launching called Superfans that's launching this year. Victoria, Davian, JC, all part of this new company that we're launching. My brothers and I were the first to put music in video games. This is back in the 90s. Not the Mario Brothers kind of music, but real songs. And kind of championed and pioneered the new model of music supervising video games. This was before Steve Schnurr, before all the guys. And so we did all the Sony, EA Sports, Activision, Konami, THQ, all the biggest and brightest games. So we kind of got caught by the bug early, and then took that methodology and went to all the labels and started doing like we bring it to Def Jam for NBA Live, et cetera, where it worked best. Went to a lot of the European artists and the the techno guys for Need for Speed or for FIFA. But David and I started working together when he was 18 years old. He was one of my street team guys. JC and myself were one of the founding groups of street teams. So we were the first implementation of street teams into the music business. This is back early 90s. I started in late 80s. And so we worked for numerous labels. I headed up 3 record companies, divisions, and JC also was a vice president, I think, of LaFace, and then still put some time doing marketing and A&R and radio promotion. So that's our background. Victoria is I manage artists, so I managed Lauryn Hill for a while. I also discovered a girl named Andra Day, who became a big star, won the Golden Globe last year for Billie Holiday. And this year we produced a couple of movies, the new Blacklight movie, which is the new Liam Neeson movie that's out right now, and a movie called Lord of the Streets with the GOAT, Anderson Silva, Rampage Jackson, a bunch of fighters, Sonny Black, and Tretch from Naughty by Nature. So we kind of diversify a little bit. We also own a podcast, BJC and Victoria, called The Hoodlum Official Show. It's called We Got Issues. And JC and I came up with it because we like to talk a lot of shit. We also like to talk to the industry people about how they came up and broke through. And it could be guys that started street labels that used to be involved in a lot of unsavory stuff and kind of transitioned their life and bettered their life and became moguls in the business. And so we've had everybody from gangsters on the show all the way to luminaries that were the presidents and chairmen of Sony on call. So it's been pretty cool thus far. We've done about 25 episodes. We've had John Sally on the show. We've had Olympians on the show, the Barber Twins, and talking about straight off the cuff stuff, but kind of a little left to center. And JC and myself are going to be, and Victoria are going to be at the panel in San Diego next week. And of course, Davian, who's, like I said, we've been working together for years when he was at Brazil School of Business, Pepperdine. Just a brilliant young man. I love him very much. And he said he needed some help doing some stuff that we're doing. And I've run a bunch of these kind of panels before and moderated them, from the UGCX in Silicon Valley to the majority of the music panels over the last 30 years. So we're like, whatever you guys need us for, especially because you guys I'm sure have a lot of different podcasts yourself. I just did TV today for the Latin market because I have a Latin artist that's breaking named Emiliano or JME. Victoria is Queen Vic. She's making her album right now, pop star. And we have a bunch of artists that we're involved with. So we're a film, music, and production company, and we're launching this technology platform called Superfans, which gamifies the process of discovering talent through daily dares and prompts, and moves you through a maze of how our music business is really run from an organic, holistic approach, like guerrilla marketing meets art of war. So it's very fun and engaging, but it also keeps the artists there and moves them through on their pace. But it really puts the work back to them, but through professional guidance and feedback in real time. And that's called Superfans. So we're pretty excited about that kind of stuff and wanted to share it with you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about it, I guess, next week. But shoot from the hip if you need anything from us or what you'd like to talk about, favorite songs, favorite music. We have a vast array because we've worked with the inception of hip hop, as I said, through in the late '80s throughout the gravy train of the '90s of the best time of hip hop. So we're very versed in that. We've worked with a lot of those artists from Tupac and from Eminem and from Tragedy and from Janet Jackson, all the way through. So
you name it.
You name it. We've done this for 30 years, and we're seasoned vets, but we always keep our ear to the street. That's the way we've stayed viable. I'm an old guy now, but I still love to mix it up with the kids and identify alphas and find out where the trends are going. And that's really where we're headed. Our partners on Superfans is the former chairman of WIA, Jim Caparo, and the former chairman of Island Def Jam, and also the CMO of Nike and Starbucks and NBC. And then, of course, JC, and like I told you, the rest of the team here. We have one of the former heads of The Sims and Second Life, which was the first real virtual worlds. And the Virtual Greats company, which was the first NFT company, was founded out of that. So I just brought him in, Ruben Steiger, to kind of run the company for us because me and JC know how to mix it up. But what's going on right now with all you guys, and metaverse and all that stuff, we really needed a seasoned guy to come in that can mix it up with the Zuckerbergs if he has to, because he's had to for the last 25 years of all this kind of craziness. Virtual Greats was really the first NFT company. So this was, 12 years ago. So it was taking virtual goods, and I ran the company for him. We would take the hoodlum hat, put it on a Zwinky doll or a Neopet, or going into one of these games, and the penguin would wear the hat. They'd pay us $3. I'd get $1. The game would get $1, and the artist would get $1. So that was like the first kind of pulling a rip of marketing, but it was really based on fun stuff at the kids in the engagement. And that's where I got the bug of going that way, which was about 2014, 2015. So we're pretty versed on what's trending in the metaverse. And we brought people in that really know how to do that to help us grow our company. And that's the four of us. JC's a publisher. He has D-Smoke, which is breaking right now. He's up for a Grammy this year. So we're very excited about that.
That's awesome.
And he has a bunch of other artists that he publishes. His deals with Warner Brothers. And, I'm sure he'll add a lot to it, but that's a general idea of our four group members. Victoria was Cinderella, Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, so she toured all over the country. She was also discovered in a way with Puff and a couple of producers through the band kind of thing when that was going on, making of the band. And she's an actress as well. And she works with us very closely as associate producer on the films that we're working on, but also she graduated Kelly School of Business and is brilliant, and she's beautiful and amazing, and she kind of is the queen of the crew. So we call her Queen Vic.
Oh boy.
And that's what you got, guys. That's what you got.
Shucks.
So much NERDSoul.
That's the back. That's the back for the nerds.
I love it.
Who's next?
Anybody else?
So who wants to go next? Gary?
Oh, yeah, I'm Gary. I write comics, and I'm a writer and a co-producer on Snowfall, which is entering its 6th and final season.
My favorite show.
So good.
I think Darren Grant, I think directed some couple of episodes on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
He's one of our friends, one of our good friends. He's one of our
right. Yes. And I wanted to mention that Devon Nixon, who's Norm's son, he played Norm. He played his dad in the Lakers miniseries, and he plays a villain who's going to return, Kane Hamilton, in our show in the 6th and final season. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
6.
It's one of our favorite shows, man. I was gonna just tell you, those shows are. I love that Power. All those. I used to work with Aoife Rivera, who's a director as well, and Jesse Torero. So, and Philip Atwell, who I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, who's Dre's guy. I represent those guys. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just beautiful stuff with Snowfall, man. What a show.
Yeah, we've had quite a run. I've been on it. This is my 4th year, so I've been quite quite lucky and very happy where we where we wound up.
Me and JC knew John Singleton pretty well. So
Yeah, right on.
He used to hang out in the hip hop with all of us back in the day. So one of the best.
Hang out in
One of the best.
hip-hop.
May he rest in peace.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
All right.
Great.
Over to Ben.
Hey, there we go. I'm Ben. I go by B Earl. I have been in entertainment for, I guess, about 20 years. Davey and I met actually through a networking community I started called Comic Book Sunday. I built that, 2008, I started that up to connect my friends in film with my friends in comics and animation and gaming and everything. Really, it's kind of a nerd herd, I guess you could call it. It grew and grew and grew, ended up at Titmouse Animation Studios. And, for me, that was fun. I was doing it every month. It was a labor of love. It was my altruistic give back to the world, and but it was also really, for me, it was also really great because it gave me a lot of resources and a lot of connectivity to so many different people. And because of that, I was able to start working with Titmouse Animation Studios. John Schnepp and I became very good friends. Rest in peace, John. We did a project called the Grimm Fairy Tales Animated that we did on Kickstarter. So I have a very kind of diverse portfolio of things. I through that community, I had access again to so many different folks. And I met with Will.i.am about a project, and Will was like, yo, let's turn this into a graphic novel and let's do AR and VR. And he actually came up with the AR part because me and my son were over at the studio and my son was playing Pokemon Go. And Will was like, what's that? And Liam was like, my boy was like probably 5 at the time or 4. And he's like, it's called Pokemon Go. You can catch Pokemon. Yeah. And Will's like, you're catching them in my studio?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, yeah, this one right here. So
Wait,
great.
So
yeah, it was
wait, so
super
what were you doing at Comic Book Sundays? You just like had a bunch of people who love comic books, and then it started growing and getting bigger, and then you started networking, and then you met all these people. Is that pretty much?
The idea behind it was because I saw what was happening in the industry was people in comics were not getting heard by the people in film, and I had so many friends in film that were young development execs and creative execs coming up that were at the time searching for intellectual properties, going to Meltdown, trying to, what's the next big thing? It was, so I was like, look, you guys, instead of trying to figure it out, why don't we all just hang out and connect together and just have a beer, enjoy each other's company. If you work together, you work together. If you don't, you don't. But, at least we should create the conversation. So that was the idea behind it. It started with 15 friends. And then the second one, there was like 8 of us sitting around like a circle reading comics and drinking beer. And I was like, well, I guess if this is what it is, cool, man. We got our little nerd book club. But by the next one, it grew and it was so much fun. And, I'm rebooting it a bit, just kind of testing the waters because, much like you, Evan, I've always been tech adjacent. My background was always a film editor. So I've always been in the mix. I mean, my dad's a computer scientist, so I was coding at 10 with him.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've always been,
Nice.
tech has always been a part of my world. But I was like, no, I don't want to go that way. I want to go into storytelling and entertainment. So I've been heavily involved in blockchain projects since like 2018. We were at Comic-Con in 2018 with a backpack. Like I was there saying, we're going to take Boyka, like Undisputed, the Millennium Project. So we're taking that. We're going to do an ICO to raise the funding. We had an NFT character. It was going to be, you could play these characters across multiple formats, both like AR, and it was all going to be on the blockchain. We had a company in Bulgaria. We were so far ahead of our time with it. Nobody understood what we were doing. And it got on a pause. And of course, there was the bear market at the time too. 2018 was another terrible time in crypto. So it is what it is. But that I always kept that on. And so out of the project I did with Will, the Masters of the Sun comic book series, it was a Black Eyed Peas project. So Taboo and I, we met through that and we became really close friends just because both have kids. We were like, okay, Masters is not for our kids. We need to do cool content for our kids.
Sure.
And because of my relationships in the animation space, because of Titmouse and everything like that, my buddy Keith Fay was over at, it still is, he's still our development exec over at Cartoon Network. So he was like, guys, you got to come into Cartoon and pitch us a show. So Tab and I went in, we pitched the show, we sold the show into development. We're pitching Sam Register on Thursday. So this was 2+ years of development, right? We survived regime change, we survived AT&T, Discovery, like it has been
Still
like
standing.
this roller coaster. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
good for you.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Good
So
for you,
Tab and
good
I-
for you, buddy. Fingers are crossed.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, so I mean, just, you know, I think why Davian kind of wanted to bring me in was because Taboo and I have a company that it's music-driven storytelling. We call ourselves Mythology Through Music. Everything we do has an indigenous and Mesoamerican sort of engine to it because Tab is Mexican and native.
Okay.
So we've been writing for Marvel for the past 3+ years. We've got I've actually just signed these and I'm going to send these out. Werewolf by Night we did. This is the Spirits
Werewolf
of
by Night,
Legends.
Right.
So
Nice.
I wrote that, and then writing a new Spider-Man series right now called Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So
Okay.
Wow.
Good for you, buddy.
it's wild, and you know, and so we always have music involved. We always have, you know, native. So it's been really a blessing. I'm just very grateful for it. And then on the tech side, Evan, and this, I've become like a speaker with a lot of like Web3. I just was at NYC. You know, I've been doing a lot of. So I'm working with Sideshow Collectibles. Doing their digital strategy and NFT strategy. And building out their whole kind of token system and how we're building.
Yeah, we have a tokenized system as well with super coins. We should definitely talk. If you're an advocate of this is right in our wheelhouse.
So I've been working with the 1155. It's not really an NFT. It's kind of a fungible-ish smart contract. So we're working with that as part of our strategy. I also do have a 721 project called the Chihuahuas I've been running for a year, animated project, and we have a community around that. It's very adult humor. And we're actually making a cartoon right now with our community that will come out in September. So that's been fun. So anyway, I rambled a bit, but lots of things.
That's perfect.
It's good.
It's really good. Yeah, helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jason, you're up.
I'm Jason. I guess I'm only Jason. I mean, Evan. Evan told. I mean, I don't know what else to add with Evan. You know, my background is street promotions in college. That's where I met Ev, and worked at I think 5 or 6 major labels, and started my own publishing company. Did deal with Universal Music Publishing and Warren Chappell Music Publishing. Helped multiple writers and producers, and you know, and just been a comic nerd since I was about, you know, Evan's height. And
He was about 12 years old.
He's a little shorter than you.
JC is really tall.
Arms too big for the shirt.
I don't know if you can tell sitting down. This man's like 6'4".
Yeah, JC 6'7". So
I'm in between those two numbers, but yeah. So I'm a comic nerd forever in the day, and
a model.
so
and a model.
and the model that was back then when we met. I'm not the best at, you know, talking about myself, but those are pretty much the bullet points. Head of promotions at LaFace Records was my last label gig, but consulted for major labels and the publishing game.
That's what's up. And last but not least, Chris.
Hey, how's everybody doing? So I'm Chris Longo. I am I run 2 companies. One of them is called Modern Fanatic, which is a specialized marketing agency that helps brands connect with fan groups. We have a very distinct mission, and we do some work that's basically like community-based marketing work, which is pretty cool stuff and very here and now. And then the other role that I have is associate publisher and chief sales officer of Heavy Metal Magazine and Heavy Metal Entertainment. So I've been a lifelong comic fan, 25-year comic industry veteran, kind of sitting at the crossroads of comic books and marketing. My role at DC and Warner Brothers was basically to create comics for brands as marketing tools. So we created comic books for TV networks and TV shows, movie studios, record labels, the whole 9 yards. Then I left DC after 13 years. I went the agency route as an employee for 2. wasn't for me. Started my own company that evolved into Modern Fanatic. And during the pandemic, I got an offer to join the team of Heavy Metal as a consultant, which I did because, like we all did during the beginning of the pandemic, suddenly found myself with a lot of downtime. So that turned into a full-time gig and a partnership with Heavy Metal, which has been super crazy, fun, rewarding. I think, some things that I can bring to the table here, I certainly have my own origin story with music that's related to comics. I got into what got me thinking about music critically as like a little kid, and I mean like 5-6 years old, was when Kiss released their Marvel comic where they allegedly put their vials of their own blood into the ink. I remember reading about that in a music magazine that my uncle had in his bedroom. And I was like, I got to have this thing. Who are these people? And never really cared about the music until I got a little older, but I was fascinated by them as characters. And that just sort of, I think that was one of the things that kind of led me down the primrose path to be a comic book lifer. I was kind of blown away by that creativity and the melding of music and comics. So in my career, though, especially with Heavy Metal in the last couple of years, the brand has a really interesting and unique connection to music in that we don't actually have one, but there's a perception that we do. And that perception is driven by two things. People know the logo, but they don't understand why they know the logo. I've had lots of dudes in like metal t-shirts come up to me and be like, hey, I used to read your magazine when I was a kid and it informed the kind of music I was listening to. I was like, are you sure? Because our magazine is science fiction, fantasy, and horror and not music. And then a lot of people have a connection to the brand from the movie, which had that stellar soundtrack that's still a bestseller today in vinyl, believe it or not. And they get confused, even though that soundtrack didn't have any metal on it. It had like Stevie Nicks and Blue Oyster Cult and things like that. There's a perception there that there's a connection to metal music, but we kind of lean into that. So our MO is like, if people view us that way, let's figure out how to use that to our advantage. So one of the things that we did as we're setting up Heavy Metal Studios, a very strategic play we did because we take the music part of this seriously, we signed up Junkie Accell to be Heavy Metal's first ever music czar. So what that means is like literally Junkie's in conversations with us as we're developing projects. So what form that takes now is like, we're going out to pitch a slate or a project to a studio, and we put together a presentation based upon our character Tarna or Entropy or Cold Dead War. And oftentimes we bounce some of that stuff of Junkie, and we wind up getting some quick down and dirty incidental music to accompany the presentation. And the eye there is that he stays in orbit with us. And as our slate grows and we actually get to Bright on creating all this media, Junkie then kind of fills the role of the music supervisor and all these things, either as the person who provides the score or the person who assembles the winning team to provide the score. So there's a lot of stuff that's interesting in there that we can pick apart in the panel for sure. And then in my further in my career, I had the privilege of working on some really interesting custom comics. One of them, I could see if I could find a copy in my office here. We did a custom comic with Prince, which was pretty trippy.
Wow. Ooh. Where's that at? Where's that?
It's easily 28 to 30 years old at this point, 25 to 26 years old at this point. And if you find one on eBay, they're usually going for a lot of money.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And honestly, I think what's interesting now, especially like with blockchain and NFTs, it used to be that doing these integrations with comics and with other media for musicians, they wound up feeling a little heavy-handed, or like they didn't feel like the genuine article. And I feel like we've evolved now to the point where, even Kiss alone, they've done way more compelling and interesting storytelling with IDW and with Boom. I think the medium has evolved so that we're reviewing these things as not just one-offs or some sort of a gimmick. We actually put real thought, care into how we develop these things and make them the genuine article. With Heavy Metal and with custom books, my MO is always, if you remove the band name or the brand name out of the book, it should still be a compelling read. So that kind of informs how we do business at Heavy Metal. I think there's plenty of meat on that bone, and it's a slightly different path than probably the rest of you guys have to talk about.
If you remove the band and the brand, would it still be able to live on its own?
Yeah, would it still be a compelling story?
The cherry on top, and it's that makes it feel proof.
Yeah,
Smart.
like if you took the Kiss comic and just put 4 other creatures in it that weren't the band Kiss, would it still be a compelling read, right?
Right. I love that. That's so interesting.
So, again, another music. So I've always kind of, been in that sort of music. And I was talking to Dimitri a couple of years ago. I got him on the NFT tip because I was like, look, NFTs with music have a lot of power when it comes to ownership and the blockchain and the open accounting and the ledger system. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have meaning to it, it doesn't matter. And that's been kind of my gong I bang when I'm at these conventions and talking.
I mean, that's like everything. You have to have intention behind everything you do. Otherwise,
Exactly. I was going to say
And even adding the story to the actual content and what we're doing called the NFTs now, the digital side of it, I think is really going to be the compelling part of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I think is interesting now is that the bar has been set at a different place with expectations. So if you're creating an NFT, if you're making a t-shirt, whatever you're doing now, it's a franchise. That's how the consumers will process it. Like, right. This is the beginning of something. And if I latch onto it now, I'm going to be one of the first in the room and I get those bragging rights and I get that sense of propriety. Mm-hmm. So it's not good enough to just do something for the sake of doing it. Like, to your point, be like, if you launched an NFT and it didn't have the dynamism and the story and the really, the sticky parts that keep people hooked, then you won't get to the web series and the TV show and the t-shirts and the so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot you can play with in that conversation. I think authenticity is going to be a big topic for us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I really love the idea, your background in marketing, because it's a big part of like what I talk about here. I'll drop in our little website. You can kind of see it this is our NFT. We did it on Solana, which has been an interesting journey. But anyway, that's another story. But I think, marketing is going to change even in how we advertise to people in this idea of the metaverse. The metaverse doesn't exist yet at all, right? It's like, and one of the companies, so I don't know if you know Pixelinks, Evan, have you heard of Pixelinks? So Inder, I become friends with Inder. So I'm actually meeting with him again next week because I told him we're doing this panel. Because, I've been keeping track of what Pixelinks has been doing, and their whole thing is we're making the music first, right? It's like Deadmau5's company. And it'll be really interesting, seeing like for artists, like, because my girlfriend is also a musician, performer, artist. And, I see from an independent artist side, like, her trials and tribulations and the struggles of maintaining, a fandom and a community and how to make money from that. And then on the other side, my other life partner, Taboo, it's like he's in a different world. Like, he's right now on tour. He just finished up in Nimes in France, performing to like 70,000 people. But it's like figuring out these revenue streams of like, and maintenance, and looking at Black Eyed Peas. I mean, they've been around for 20 plus years, which is crazy. Like, how do you stay relevant as, a creative? And I think that's such a big challenge, and
you're totally right. When they first popped, they did not have Fergie. So they were doing their stuff. And it was very interesting because I put them on their first record ever when they came as an independent artist. It was called The Next Chapter, when I was running a company called Immortal Records.
Okay. And,
we had House of Pain, Wu-Tang, we had, Cypress and so forth. But they came to us, one of their managers back in the day. Remember this? And they came in and they were like, yeah, we got this record. And we put it on the record. The Next Chapter was pretty cool. But, those guys and the Roots were like the two types of bands that were bubbling at that time when me and JC were really fucking rocking and everything. And that was popping. And then boom, they bring Fergie and they just take off like this. And the Roots kind of stayed like this until they got Fallon. So, the trajectory about their life and everything was very different. But you see Amir is so unbelievable now, doing everything. But Will.i.am went into tech. He pivoted, went to tech. And he started consulting as a creative director for.
Soulja Boy too, right? I think Soulja Boy is big in tech.
I was learning out all the internet, all about the internet.
And he was saying that Soulja Boy was saying that Drake took my style and all this stuff, and I was like, yo,
he was the first.
He was the first.
I should come out and be like, hey, yo, Beyonce bit everything I did. Yo, Beyonce, stop biting my artistry. I feel like this is a failed
innovation.
guys. Thank you all for the idea. You each get 10%.
Well, I think, going back to like this idea of like, what is an NFT, in a lot of ways, it becomes this immutable idea that exists in your wallet, and your wallet becomes your collection. I call it your digital ontology. It's this idea of as comic book nerds, we collect stuff. Like I have all my Jokers and my Dr. Dooms and my this and my that. And that, in a lot of ways are people that collect pops. Like my best friend collects all the pops. And he's like, yo, that's my makeup. Like that's who I am. You walk in my house, you can see that I love the Goonies and Seinfeld and da-da-da. So it becomes this like almost psychological makeup. And with an NFT, as we're going into this digital space, it becomes like, in a lot of ways, you look at someone's wallet, we haven't gotten there. There's no block explorers yet or ways to really look. And there's companies I've been talking to that are developing these tools, right? Where you can actually see it. And another company I advise with, they're going to be putting out like where you can create stages, stage your NFTs, fly through it. So it's digital, like 3D space. And then it'll be able to be put out on your Twitter, your Instagram, whatever, which is kind of your Web 2.5 version. So people will be able to see like what it is you're into. Like, here's my cool collection.
So
that's what Superfans Pro Card is. So the Pro Card will aggregate all of your information in one place with your digital rendering of whatever it be, your shows, training exercises, everything in the Pro Card. And that will become an NFT that you can share and collect and trade.
Yep. And
there'll be exclusive content in there that you can buy access to, but it'll all be free. And it'll be allowed 12 a year, because we believe, and JC and I can talk about that during the panel, you can know if you're going to bust a record within a week or two. Yeah. If the streets are talking, it's that quick. You watch the reaction at a club, we drop the record at the club, they're still dancing at the club, that's a great vibe. If it's all dead, then you're like, oh, we got to reboot. So it really doesn't take that long. So we just did one a month. One artist can do it, their Pro Card a month. 12 a year, and they can release them as Pro Cards, and it's all blockchain technology. So we're right on the same wavelength, Ben, of what we're doing. Yeah. So pretty excited.
That's fresh, man. No, I love it. It's like connecting creative and technology. I mean, that's my whole reboot with what we're doing with Comic Book Sunday. Is I want to connect those dots again, but now instead of being the development execs in Hollywood and the comic book people, I want it to be like the comic nerds and everything and the creative folk, because
there is a disconnect. Like, oh man, I gotta read the room right now, but a lot of the stuff that's been coming out lately, like really high up, the new reboots of old comics. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to say this anywhere else. Obviously, this is just between us. But there does feel like there is a little bit of a disconnect between where the actual comics are and what Disney is putting out, right? Like, it's not exactly the same thing at all. There is like a disconnect there.
Are you talking about the film side, or are you talking about like the actual?
The film side, like the film, the TV shows, the shows that they're putting out on Disney Plus. It's like, well, that's not actually a part of the story at all. But okay, yeah, for sure. Let's go with this. I don't know.
Well, the shows are evolving. You're doing your Spider-Man. That's evolving into your.
Yeah, I feel like they need more of the people that were involved in the creation of it to be more involved in the story, like the storyboarding. The Marvel has just been hitting every single time. I mean, they have not missed.
And it does seem like there's different levels of creative freedom, depending on whether you're in. Because when I talk to my people, say in WB animation, there's a different level of creative control than when you're talking about live action film, or than when you're talking about the comics. Is like, and then pretty much none of them ever talk to each other. Like,
exactly.
pretty much like the comic, they are not allowed in like the film. They're like who are you?
Right. It's like the military. Everyone has like a separate division and they're all working towards something, but you don't know exactly what it's going to be, and only like 3 people in the world actually know. Like,
but I think, honestly, to that point, it really does a disservice to the fandom. I think it really hurts the fandom, because the fans want to have those Easter eggs. The fans want to feel like they're knowing something, and when they see something in the background of or whatever, if it's I was talking about Marvel, but like DC, right? Warner Brothers, they see in the background of a Warner cartoon, and then it connects into a comic book that they're reading, and they're like, oh, so this is where you start like really creating this connective tissue.
And then you have a whole underworld conspiracy theory of things that you saw, so everyone's watching real carefully.
Right. Well, you can build C and Z stories. Like you can start really weaving. I really believe we need to have a cohesion amongst the community and the connectivity.
We extremely need that.
Can we talk about how we can do a series of DC and Marvel? Like, you want
to combine universes?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
We're gonna do it one more again. Is it gonna be like a little quick tournament, or are we gonna really try to?
I'm talking about going at it, man. Nah. Yeah, I'm talking about going. Yeah, I'm talking about going at it, man. Like you just see. I need it because I know DC needs help.
I don't know. Maybe like Eternity meets High Father, and something goes on, and they need the best heroes to get together.
There you go.
Because I don't know, because Atrocitus did something, and there you go. Exactly. There's your story. There
it is. Okay. All right, Gary, B, I need you guys to get on that, man.
That's it. Get on that. That's right.
We were at lunch this week, and I was trying to remember when I was growing up, because you guys have such deep knowledge in the comics. When I was growing up, do you remember the comic back in the day, The Mighty Heroes, with Strong Man and Diaper Man? Do you remember that? Did anybody, any of you guys? It was a cartoon.
That was from the Hanna-Barbera cartoon?
I believe so. Yeah. And it was so funny. When I was a little kid, I used to watch it all the time, but I never saw it again. They never knew if they even developed those characters. But I remember a lot of the old comics. But when I used to buy comic books, and I didn't go through the stages. So hearing the different worlds you guys are combining with Spider-Man and bringing them in with this character and that character, so cool. And I still, I'm a heart patient, and when I had my heart surgery, I have like a plate in here with wires. So my mom said, take a picture when they opened up my chest. Take a picture. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, take a picture. She's like, why? And he goes, I've been calling him Iron Man since he's 6 years old.
There you go.
So even my mother knew my connection to Iron Man.
There you go.
And it was like such a great character. So I still wear all my Iron Man stuff. Now JC might be The Rock, but I'm Iron Man.
Too bad.
Black Adam.
He's Black Adam.
Adam.
I do want to say, DC did buy up the old. It was the old Saturday morning Hanna-Barbera stuff. It was Space Ghost, Herculoids. Goddamn, I'm forgetting some of it, but I always wanted to write a Herculoid story. One of these days before I die, I'm gonna write one.
My uncle created George of the Jungle.
Yeah.
George, I think I have the cells still at the house. Wow. My uncle.
That's great.
Yeah, his name was Cullen, and Cullen created these characters. He worked for Hanna-Barbera. So he used to send us all this stuff, like all this cool collectible stuff. And I also have a buddy that created Mighty Mates. Do you remember that? What that is?
Yeah.
So Adam's a good friend of mine. Adam Unger. You probably know him, guy, because he's been in your world for decades. But we used to do a bunch of collabs with music and the Mighty Mates and stuff like that, which I thought were a lot of fun. And I had all of these toys when I was having kids. They'd be getting all these toys and stuff. And my dad was the first guy to do the Kenner toys with a big company when some of us were growing up. And that was my dad. So I love the toys and love the comics. But as I got out of it, my favorite movie, Iron Man, Favreau's Iron Man. So it was weird that out of all my superhero stuff, I started off with Iron Man and I went back to Iron Man. And I still think today it's still considered one of the best superhero movies ever of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pretty awesome.
Iron Man is definitely solid.
Definitely solid. I love Black Panther too. But for me, some of the movies kind of get me and then some don't.
No, on Marvel?
But I like the Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman I thought was incredible. And of course I like Black Panther and Iron Man. Those are my three.
I think the thing I was talking about earlier, because I don't think Marvel's really missed. I feel every time I watch another one, I'm like, oh, this is the best one. And then I see the next one, I'm like, oh, this is the best one.
I mean, there's some misses. It's definitely, Marvel got a few misses. Not as many as DC, but they got a few misses.
Yeah.
I just want to know, my question is Killmonger coming back? Black Panther?
Well, I mean, if you know, if Kevin Feige listens to me, yeah. But I mean, you know what I mean? I hit him up on his pager.
His pager.
He wasn't really listening.
The regular pager or the two-way pager?
It was a two-way, but I put 911 at the end of the message, and he still, you know.
Oh, nothing, huh?
Clarify that. Earlier, I was talking about not the Marvel shows that are coming out. Those are fire too. I'm talking about more when they're coming out with the Star Wars stuff. I was like, wait, that's different from the character, but this is, they changed the dynamics of the characters.
Star Wars is killed it with Star Wars. It killed it with Star Wars.
Yeah, they got their graphics are crazy.
Well,
Star Wars is killing
it. They got some stuff. They got some stuff on the way. I know Star Wars. They've had slight slumps. What?
No, you're not talking about Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and
no, I'm talking about in the film department. Yeah. They've had some slumps. They've had some slumps, but they've been picking back up on the TV side. You know,
TV.
Clone Wars, final season of Clone Wars.
I like Mandalorian. I wasn't there.
Yeah, Mandalorian came through.
Boba Fett was a little too tame or something. I can't.
Yeah, but Obi-Wan was amazing.
Obi
was amazing though. What about Obi? I mean, Obi was incredible.
Obi's pretty cool.
Obi-Wan came through. So, you know, I mean, they're figuring it out.
Yeah. But they may have.
You get them to Marvel where they like just absolutely don't miss. I mean, what was the one with what's her name? The witch. Oh my god.
Oh, you're talking about
Scarlet Witch.
WandaVision.
WandaVision was real slow. Yeah.
It was slow, but it was clever. I liked it because it harkened back to all of those shows. So.
I loved it. I thought that was fantastic.
Hey, everybody, I'm sorry. I got to jump for another call. It's like crazy week with Comic-Con coming up.
Thank you for coming.
Actually, I was going to say.
My pleasure. This was so much fun. I wish we could just keep doing this all afternoon.
I was actually going to say we've had a great conversation. This is pretty much all I need. We just kicked some topics. So we can all bounce if you want. Like, we've been on.
Yeah, I got to split it too, though. I just got to split it.
What do you think? What do you guys think of Anthony Mackie as new Captain America?
I love it.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be awesome, right?
I need more.
It's going to be a nice.
Black Adam.
But you know that Evans will be back as Cap because Cap has put the shield down several times in the comics.
Right?
Yeah, nothing's impossible.
He got old. Red Skull took him over. All these things happen, but
it's a soap opera. Remember, it's a soap opera.
That's right.
Nobody ever dies. It always goes back.
That's
exactly.
The guy that you got playing Idris on Snowfall is one of the best actors on TV, by the way.
Michael, do you need anything else from us? You want
Evan, he's the guy that saved the show long ago and far away when they did the first pilot. Oh man, apparently nobody liked it, right? But they liked him as Franklin. And they said, okay,
unbelievable.
Just on that alone, okay, we'll take a chance, but you guys got to do something about this bullshit you've done film so far. And
what do you guys? Oh, sorry.
And when they redid the pilot, because John was still around then.
Yeah.
That's when they sold the show.
I mean, he's British, right? Isn't he British too? Idris?
Yeah, he's British.
Which is fantastic how he got the culture down like that.
Well, Dub C and some other cats who are in our show, what's the name who plays Peaches? So they work with him to get him to do a black South Central accent because otherwise he would definitely be a disconnect if you heard his actual voice.
But he really crushes it. One of my favorites.